So guys, hi everybody. I'm Sandeep Gupta and I'm here today to teach you the Python programming language. So I hope everybody can see me, everybody can see my screen and you can hear me. In case there is any problem, we'll discuss that about if in case there is a problem about any connectivity issues, please WhatsApp me on our group. Or in case I'm not paying attention to the WhatsApp messages, you can directly even call me. All right. So now without any further delay, let's start with our batch on Python 3, where Python is a programming language and 3 is the version number. Now, before we start with the language, let's understand why Python has become so popular. So guys, there are many reasons because of which Python has become so popular, but I will list down only the main and the important reasons. The first reason because of which Python has become so popular is its large standard library. Now, before I proceed further, let's understand what is the meaning of the word library. And to understand the meaning of the word library, let's go to the C programming language. By the way, now I'll be annotating on this PowerPoint presentation. So you will be seeing this small dot. This small dot is currently below the alphabet L, the alphabet L of large. Below that, you will see this small dot. This is the mouse pointer. So please follow this mouse pointer. All right. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of the word library? So library over here basically means a collection of programs, and library is sometimes also called module. It is sometimes also called module, or it is sometimes also called package. So whether you say library or you say module or you say package, it is one and the same. And it basically means a library basically means a collection of programs, and these programs are meant to do some particular work. Now, to understand the meaning of library, the simplest example is the sqrt function of the C programming language. Now, many of you were my students for C programming language for SPA. So, can you tell me what is this sqrt function called? Well, it is called a library function. Now, why it is called a library function? First of all, library over here means a collection, all right? And function, what it is that you already know. So why sqrt is called library function? Because sqrt was provided to you by the C programming language. You never wrote the code of sqrt on your own. That code was already provided to you by the C programming language. Yes, that's right. Now, what happens is that when you do a C program, if you want to ever find a square root, you don't, just a minute, sorry. If you want to do, if you're doing a C program and if you want to find a square root, what you do is you don't write the code for square root on your own. You just use this function which is provided to you by the C programming language. So basically functions, or I will say the code or the programs which are already provided to you by the language, it is called library, it is called module, it is called package. In very simple words, a library basically means ready-made code which you can use. Now, what happens is, as far as Python is concerned, in Python, there are thousands of libraries, and take the word thousand very seriously. So in Python, you name an application or you name a work which you want to do, and for that work, you will have one particular library, you will have one particular module, you will have one particular package. For example, if you want to do a GUI program, you have a library, you have a module called tkinter. If you want to do some mathematical work, you have a library called NumPy. Then for data science, you have a library, you have a module called Pandas, which even we are going to learn. In fact, we'll be learning tkinter also. So now what happens over here? Let's say you are doing a program on data science. So the code which is required for implementing a data science program, that code you don't need to write on your own. That code is already present in Pandas. You just need to use that code. You don't need to write that code. The same is the concept with tkinter, or the same is the concept with any library, any module. So as I told you, Python has a large standard library. That means it has thousands of modules. It has thousands of ready-made code. And using this ready-made code, you can implement your programs very easily. So because of this reason, Python has become so popular. You don't need to write your own code. You can use the code which is already present. Now, the second reason because of which Python has become so popular is because it is open source. Now, what exactly it means? So guys, what happens is any software, or I will say any programming language, is basically of three types. When I say three types, I mean commercially three types. So there are softwares which are proprietary. I repeat, proprietary. Then there are softwares which are free, also called freeware. And there are softwares which are called FOSS. FOSS means free and open source. Now, the best example of a proprietary software, of a proprietary language, is Java. I hope you know that Java is owned by the Oracle Corporation, and Java is actually not free to use. Now, as a student, you must have used Java freely without paying anything, but actually for commercial use, that means if a particular software company wants to create a website in Java, then that software company cannot use Java just like that. That software company has to pay some money to Oracle. So such softwares are called proprietary softwares. Then we have free softwares which are free to use, for which you don't need to pay anything. One example of a free program, of a free software, is WhatsApp. You don't need to pay anything to use WhatsApp. Of course, let's leave the debate of privacy and all aside, but otherwise WhatsApp is free to use. Now comes the category called FOSS, where FOSS stands for free and open source software. I repeat, free and open source software. Now, Python is FOSS. So it means Python is free to use. All right. By the way, Python is owned, or I will say there is an organization which kind of owns Python, and that organization is called PSF, which is called, the full form is Python Software Foundation. I repeat, Python Software Foundation. Now, although Python is owned by PSF, Python is free to use by everybody, anybody. So if anybody wants to use Python for any work, I repeat, any work, be it commercial work or educational work, he or she can use Python without paying anything to PSF. But what this PSF has done is it has taken Python one step ahead. Now, just like Android, I repeat, just like Android, Python is open source. Open source means what? So what happens is, open source means the code of Python. I will even take Android example. The code of Python and the code of Android is freely available in the market for you to see the code. Now, what I mean to say is, let's take example of WhatsApp. Now, although you can see although you can use WhatsApp, but what happens is you cannot see the source code of WhatsApp, and you cannot do any modification in the features of WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is free. You can use it as it is, but you cannot do any modifications in its source code according to your own needs. But if you talk about Android, if you talk about Python, what happens is the code of Python, the code of Android is not only free, but it is open source, which means that you as a programmer can do modifications in Python, you can do modifications in Android, and you can use Python and Android as per your own needs, as per your own requirements. So that is called open source. Now, because of it being open source, there is one advantage. Listen to me carefully. You may not understand this advantage right now, but you will understand this as the course progresses. See, what happens is, there are many programmers, listen to me carefully, there are many programmers who have written their own modules in Python for different areas, for different applications. For example, there could be a programmer who has written a module for data science. There could be a programmer who has written a module for machine learning. Now, these modules written by some other programmer can be incorporated in your Python programs. So, for example, let's say a programmer who lives in, let's say, USA. You don't even know that programmer. He has written a module, and that module is of great use in a particular machine learning project. Now, what that programmer will do is he will release that Python module openly on the internet. And then if you are in India, so if you want to do a program on Python, you may not even know that programmer, but you can use his module in your program freely without paying him, without paying PSF anything. So this is one more advantage of open source. If a particular software is open source, then different people contribute to its development, and that way the software grows phenomenally in size. Okay, all right. Finally, the next advantage of Python is that Python is of great use in data analysis and machine learning. Now, actually, this point number three is related to point number 1 and 2. In point number 2, what I said is that Python has a very large standard library. And in point number 2, what I said is that there are many independent programmers who have written their own modules, and these modules can be freely used by you guys. So what happens is, guys, because Python is open source, because it has a because Python is open source, many different people, many different programmers have written their own modules for the purpose of data analysis, for the purpose of machine learning, and these modules can be freely used by anybody in this world who are doing programs on data analysis and machine learning. So now what is the advantage over here? The advantage is, let's say tomorrow let's say after a few years, you start working in a company. And let's say your company tells you to do a project, on machine learning, on ML. Now, in your project, let's say certain code is required. Okay, certain code related to machine learning is required. Now, it is quite possible, it is very much possible that that code which is required for your machine learning project is already openly available on the internet, So what you can do is, instead of writing your own code, you can use the module which is already available on the internet. So that saves the project cost and the project time. Now you compare the same scenario with Java. Okay. Sorry. So now, you compare the same scenario, with Java. Now let's say, listen to me carefully. Let's say your company tells you that do a Java project, and that Java project involves concepts of machine learning. Now, before I tell you what is the problem, can you think over here what could be the problem? Come on, I'll pause here a little and I'll wait for a few seconds. And can you think what could be a possible problem over here? One possible problem over here could be that, see, if you are supposed to do the project on Java and if it involves machine learning, then you will have to write the code of that machine learning on your own, because there will not be any Java module available on the internet doing that same purpose. So what will happen is, because of this, the project cost and the project time will increase phenomenally. So that is why, guys, what has happened is, over a period of years, Python has become the first choice for doing any program, any project on data analysis, machine learning, big data, and so on. Why? Because the modules required for this data analysis, machine learning, and all, they're freely available on the internet. So these are the three main reasons. Because of which Python has become so famous. Of course, there are a few other reasons also, which I'll tell you as the course progresses further. Now, once you have understood why Python is so popular, now let's start with the language. Let's start with the programming. Now, First of all, what we will do is we'll study how to download Python and how to install Python. Okay, pay good attention over here. And right now, when I'm teaching you downloading and installing, don't do anything. Just pay attention to this. All right. So if you want to download Python, what you need to do is go to your normal web browser. All right. And over there, you just need to type Python download. Just type Python download. Just search for Python download. All right. Now, the very first link over here will be this. Okay. www.python.org. This is the official site for Python. And over here, you see download Python. All right. Now, this will take you to this website. And over here, you will see download the latest version of version for Windows. Now, I'm using a Windows laptop, and that is why it says Windows. Now, if you're using a MacBook, you can even download and install Python on MacBook or Linux also. So what will happen is this website will automatically detect that your operating system is Windows or Linux or Mac, and accordingly, it will display this page. Let's say you are using Mac and still it is showing Windows over here. So what you can do is you can go to this link where Mac OS X here. All right. Anyway, so now if you are using Windows, okay, then already over here you see the link download Python 3.9.1. Now guys, over here 3 is the version number. Very soon I'll tell you a little more about version number. For time being, 3 is the version number. So we'll be studying Python version 3. During our course, in case if we have version 4, then what we'll do is we'll update ourselves to version 4 as soon as the new version releases. For time being, the latest version of Python is the version 3. And this 9.1 over here, it is called update number. Update number. All right. So it is quite possible that in your computer Python is installed, but it could be 3.8, 3.7. So that does not matter. The main thing is that it should be Python 3. Anyway, so now what we'll do is we'll click on this. Now, when you click on this, look to the bottom left of my screen. So see, the download has started and see the download is even over. Look over here. All right. I hope you can see this bottom left of my screen. So an exe file will be downloaded and over here you can go to show in folder. So now I click in this show in folder. All right. So over here, see, this file will be downloaded. By the way, I'm sure there will be a downloads folder in your computer. So over there, it will get downloaded. Now what you will do is you will double click on this. Okay, now pay good attention over here. Now, when you double click on this, you will see these things. All right, modify, repair, uninstall. All right. Now, what I will do is, now Python was already installed on my computer, but for your sake, I will uninstall it. Okay, so that I can show you something. So let me uninstall it and you will have to wait for a while. Maybe you can drink some water or you can just take a break for a minute. I hope you guys are here. Just wait for a minute. Do keep a notebook and a pen handy with you. There could be some important points which I'll tell you. All right, guys. So the uninstall was successful. So please come back if you are somewhere else. All right. Okay. So now I close this. That means now Python is removed from my laptop. Okay. Now what I do is I double click on this once again. Okay. So now see, pay good attention. All right. Now this is something which I wanted to show you, and that is why I did the uninstallation. So pay good attention to the next thing which I'm telling you. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll have problems later on. Okay. Listen. So now over here, you will see this thing, add Python 3.9 to path. Do you see this? Add Python 3.9 to path. Now, without fail, put a tick mark over here. Without fail, put a tick mark over here. All right. And only then proceed with the installation. Now, over here, either you can click on this install now. All right. Or you can click on this customize installation. Both will be same for us. All right. Now, although you can click over here also, but purposely what I'll do is I'll go to customize installation and I'll show you a few things. I want to show you a few things. That is why I'm going in this customize. Otherwise, there is no reason. So now I want you to read all these things over here. It says, see this pip pip. Okay, this is something very important. It says installs pip, which can download and install other Python packages. Now, what exactly this pip is, I'll tell you very soon. Then it also says installs tkinter. I hope you remember what is tkinter. I spoke about it just now. Installs tkinter, an idle development environment. Now, tkinter is basically a module. It is basically a package. And what is idle? So listen to me carefully. See, I hope you know, while doing Java in your earlier semesters, you may have used NetBeans, or you may have used Notepad++. You may have used something called Sublime or something like Atom and so on. So basically, guys, this NetBeans, this Sublime, Atom, Notepad++, or even simple Notepad. Let's talk about simple Notepad. All these things are called IDE. I repeat, they are called IDE, where IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Okay. So what happens is, listen to me carefully. Now, when you install other languages, let's say you install Java. So when you install Java, what will happen is, when you install Java, only the Java compiler, only the Java interpreter will get installed, and you will have to install one IDE separately. So if you want NetBeans, you have to install NetBeans separately. You have to install Notepad++ separately. But in Python, what happens is, when you install Python, apart from the Python interpreter, automatically one IDE also gets installed, and this IDE is called IDLE. IDLE is the name of that IDE. All right. So IDLE is the default integrated development environment for Python. In very simple words, you can say this way, that IDLE is the notepad for Python. That's it. So basically, when you install Python, automatically pip will get installed, then idle will get installed. Then I click on next. See, I click on next. All right. Now over here also, we'll not do any changes, but there's something important I want to show you. Do you see a tick mark over here? Add Python to environment variables. So this tick mark which you see over here is because we had put tick mark 2 windows earlier. So see, I'll go back. See that now there's a tick mark over here. I'll go back. See, I'll remove this tick mark. And now again, I go to customize. I do next. And see, this tick mark is gone. See, can you see this? All right. So please keep one thing in mind. Always put a tick mark over here. This is very important. Otherwise, you may have problems later on. Not many teachers are aware of this. And then later on, when there are problems, not many teachers can solve those problems. So anyway, I put a tick mark over here. I go to customize installation. All right. And I do next. Nothing to be changed over here. Now also see where Python is installed. So there is something funny about this, which I'll tell you very soon. So Python will be installed in C:, users, HP. By the way, over here, what will happen is on your computer, you may not see HP, you may see your own name, or if your computer is Lenovo computer, you may see Lenovo over here. After that, app data, local programs, all this will probably remain same. Okay. So try to remember this: C:, users, HP, and so on and so on. Now, finally, I click on install. See, I click on install and very soon it will be installed. Okay, let me just see. I have done everything properly. Yeah, okay. By the way, if you want, you can even put a tick mark over here, install for all users. What happens is many a times, not many a times, sometimes on one particular computer, uh, several users are configured. So if you put a tick mark over there, Python will be available to all the users. Okay. Anyway, I leave it as it is and I click on install. By the way, while it is getting installed, let me tell you one thing. See, I hope you know what a compiler is. A compiler is basically a program which will convert your program written in high-level language to machine language. Machine language is a language of ones and zeros which the computer can understand. The computer cannot understand the C language or the Python language which we write. So whenever we install any particular programming language, in reality, what happens is its compiler gets installed on our machine. Now, what happens is a compiler is basically a translator which converts the high-level language, that means C language, Python language, to machine language. And translators are of two types. One is compiler and another is interpreter. Now, what is the fine difference between compiler and interpreter? That we'll see sometimes later. Let's not get into that discussion right now. For time being, what I want to tell you is that in Python, you don't have a compiler, you have an interpreter, and this interpreter will convert your Python program to machine language. Okay. So basically, interpreter is the translator converting your program to ones and zeros. Okay. Now it says setup was successful. Okay. So now I can close this. I can close this now. All right. Okay. Now please pay good attention. Otherwise, you will have inconvenience later on. Okay. Now Python is installed. All right. So now the thing is where it is installed. So there's something funny over here. Please pay good attention. Okay. Otherwise, you may have some problems. Although not important, but still I felt I should tell this to you. Now this is my PC. Now I go to C drive. Now in C drive, I go to users, I go to HP. All right. All right. Now, if you were paying attention, can you tell me inside HP, which is that folder, in which Python was installed, the next folder after HP? If you remember, I had told you that in your computer, it could be Lenovo or it could be anything else. So after HP, the next folder was called app data. But if you see carefully over here, see nowhere you will see app data. See carefully. Now, why am I telling this to you is because what will happen is that when you try to search where Python is installed on your computer, even you will not be able to find out where it is installed. So you will keep scratching your head that you can use Python, but you are not able to see the Python folder in your computer. So what happens over here is, pay good attention. Now go to this view. Can you see this? It is written in very small font. So go to this view. And over here, see, you see something called hidden items. Okay, click on this hidden items. And when I click on this hidden items, over here, you will see the folders which are hidden. So, all right. So now, see, you see a folder called app data. So app data is basically a very important folder, and it is by default hidden by the Windows operating system. So if you want to see app data, you need to click on hidden. Now you go inside app data, you go inside local, then inside local you go to programs, then you go to Python. See, your Python is installed, and this is Python 39 here. So what will happen is by default, all your Python programs will be stored here by default. But I strongly advise to you that don't store your programs over here. All right. In fact, you don't even need to know that Python is installed over here. All right. So now I'll close this. Okay. Now pay good attention to the next thing. Otherwise, you will have lots of inconvenience later on. Okay. So please pay good attention. Now, just a minute. Okay. Now listen. Now what you do is after Python is downloaded and installed, okay, you have downloaded Python, you have installed Python. After all that is done, what you do is in your search bar, you type idle. In your search bar, you type idle. Okay, sorry. Now, when you type idle over here, you will see this idle Python 3.9 64-bit. Okay. Now, what you do is right click on this. So see, I do the right click and select this pin to taskbar. So I hope you know that this is called a taskbar. This is a taskbar. Okay. So what will happen is that when you pin to taskbar, an icon of this idle will be created in your taskbar. So now every time you don't need to go to search, you can directly select up idle or Python from your taskbar. So see, I click on this, and the moment I click on this, see here, this thing comes. See, this is the symbol for Python. I hope you can see this towards the very bottom. If you cannot see this, just be convinced that an icon is created in your taskbar. Now I'll click on this icon. Okay, now I'll click on this icon. Okay, now when I click on this icon, this white colored window which you see over here, listen to me carefully. This white colored window which you see over here, it is called the Python shell. Actually, this is the Python interpreter. Okay, this is the Python interpreter which will take the instructions from you and will convert it to machine language and will execute for you. But basically, this is called the Python shell. I repeat, the Python shell. Okay. Now, over here, what you can do is, all right. Now, before I proceed further, I'll also tell you a few more things. I'll close this Python shell for time being. Okay. And now what I can do is, or what you should also do is, you can go to the CMD. All right. So when you type this CMD in your search bar, you will see this command prompt. So just open this for a while. Okay. And over here, you can just type Python minus version. All right, I repeat, Python space minus version. If you want, you can write it in your notebook. Python space minus version. And when you hit the enter key, you will see 3.9.1. In fact, guys, what you can do is, before you start installing Python, you can just go to your command prompt and you can give this command. So if you see something like Python 3.7.8 or something like that, that means Python is already installed in your computer. You don't need to install it again. Now, let's talk about something called pip. Pip. In case you can't see this, the font is small. It is pip. Now, listen to me carefully. Now, this pip will be of great help later on. The full form of pip is, listen to me carefully, it's quite confusing. The full form of pip is pip installs packages. This is the full form of pip. By the way, this thing is called, see this, what I have highlighted. This is the full form of pip, and this full form is called recursive acronym. I repeat, it is called recursive acronym. If you don't know what is a recursive acronym, maybe you can search the internet about it. Anyway, let's not waste time on that. So what exactly this pip is? So this pip is basically a program. It is basically a built-in program of Python. And using this pip, you can install other packages, other modules. Just now I told you that a package is basically a collection of some ready-made programs which is provided to you. Okay. So as I told you, there are many third-party programmers who are not related to Python Foundation, and they have written their own packages to help you. So if you want to install those packages, those libraries in your computer, then you need help of pip. So for example, I can type something like pip install, and the name of the package. So let's say ABC, something like this. So when I give this command, what will happen is a package called ABC will be installed on your computer, and then in your Python program, you can use that package ABC. Anyway, more about that pip later on. One more thing which I want to tell you is that it is quite possible that your laptop, your computer has Python version 2. So guys, if you have Python version 2, then you need to reinstall Python and you need to update it to version 3, because there are some considerable differences in Python version 2 and version 3. All right. So don't use version 2, use version 3. In fact, it is quite possible that in your college, they may be using Python version 2. So if they're using Python version 2 in your college, okay, then there will be some, not many, some differences in between what I am teaching you and what happens in your college. Not many, but some very few differences. All right. I'm sorry. Okay. So we spoke about PIP, we spoke about the CMD. All right. Now, let's go to the Python shell again. Now, again, what I'll do is I will just go over here. See, I'll go to the taskbar and I'll open this. All right. Now, before I start programming over here, I want to show you some hacks. I repeat, I want to show you some hacks. Now, what hacks? So what will happen is when you install Python, okay, when you install Python in your computer, this window will be quite big. It will be phenomenally large, okay. So that will always be a trouble for you. So what you do is, in the beginning itself, go to options, go to configure idle, all right, go to general, and you see this width and height. You see this width and height. So I have kept the width 50 and height 25. All right. So you can also do something like this. You can decrease the width and the height over here. If you don't do that, what will happen is this screen will become very big and it will be very difficult for you to handle. All right. And don't forget that after doing changes over here, click on apply and click on OK. Otherwise, the changes will not come into effect. Okay. Another hack which I want to show you is about this keys. All right. Now, before I show you this hack, let's understand why this is required. Now, listen to me carefully. Now, what happens is, let's say I type something over here. Why am I typing? I'll tell you. Let's say I type something over here, A equal to B. All right. I hit the enter key. Sorry. Let's say I type A equal to 6. I type B equal to 7. Okay. Now, listen to me carefully. Now I'm pressing the up arrow key. I'm pressing the up arrow key on my keyboard. I repeat, I'm pressing the up arrow key on my keyboard. So when I press the up arrow key, you see B equal to 7. That means the earlier line. One more time, if I press the up arrow key, you see A equal to 6, the earlier line. All right. Now what happens, guys, is this behavior which you see, okay, the behavior, what behavior am I talking about? See, when I press the up arrow key, you see the previous lines. So this feature is not present by default in Python. Okay. So what will happen is that when you install Python, this will not work on your computer. So for that, what you need to do is you need to again do one hack over here. Go to options, go to configure, go to keys now, keys. Now over here, see carefully. If you scroll this, okay, you will see something like, just a minute, guys. Just a minute, guys. So yeah. So over here, see this carefully. Listen to me carefully. You can make a note of it. So over here, you will see something like history previous. Okay, now listen to me very carefully. Now in your computer, this key up will not be there. Okay, this key up will not be there. Okay. So what you can do is you can select this. Pay attention. And after selecting this, you click on this, get new keys for selection. Okay. Now over here, what you can do is, see, you scroll this, and after scrolling this, you click on this up arrow. Already click on up arrow. All right. Right now I cannot do this because in my case it is already up arrow. Okay. So you click on up arrow, then you click on OK. Click on up arrow, click on OK. And after clicking on OK, one minute, guys, just I'll do one more time. So get new keys for selection. All right. Okay. First I need to do clear keys. Okay. Now click on up arrow. All right. Now after clicking on up arrow, you click on OK. Okay. All right. One minute, guys. Just a minute. In my case, I have already done this, so I think that's why it is not taking the selection. One more time, I'll try. So I first select this history previous, key up. All right. Okay. All right. Now I click on get new keys for selection. Okay. Now one. All right. So guys, what you do is after doing this, you click on up arrow. Now in my case, it is not getting selected because I have already selected it. Okay. So in your case, what will happen? This will get selected. After that, you click on OK. When you click on OK, it will ask you for some name. So give it any name you want. Then again click OK. And finally, after everything is done, you click on this apply. You click on apply and you click on OK over here. Click on apply and click on OK over here. This apply and OK. And after that, what will happen is you can use the up arrow key. And when you use the up arrow key, automatically the previous statements will appear on your Python shell. Okay. And finally, one more hack. This is not a hack, but still, I think I should tell you. What happens is sometimes this font is not very good enough over here. So what you can do is you can go to this font. You can select whatever font you want and whatever size you want. All right. So for example, I have selected the Verdana font with size 16. So basically, I told you about three hacks. The first hack was about uh, that width and height. The second about the up arrow key, and the third about font. Now, finally, let's start programming. So now listen to this next thing very carefully. Now, when you're doing programming in Python, there are two execution modes in Python. I repeat, two execution modes in Python. One is called interactive mode, another is called script mode. I repeat, interactive mode and script mode. Now, what is this interactive mode? So listen to me carefully. Now, this window which you see over here is called a Python shell, or I will say the Python interpreter, but we'll call it shell. Now, what we can do is, unlike Java, unlike C, we can directly give the statements over here. This Python shell will execute the statement and will show you the result. For example, in Python, if you want to display anything, we write print, and in double quotes, we give what we want to display. So as the tradition says, we should always start with hello world. So I give print hello world, no semicolon, okay, nothing, and I hit the enter key. So what you see in blue color over here, hello world, this is the output. The output will always come in blue color. So see over here, I am not saving the program in any file and all. I'm directly giving the statements here and they're getting executed. See one more. See over here, I had given a equal to 6, b equal to 7. Now I can write print see a plus b and I hit the enter key. So you see 30. All right. So the whole point is that whatever statements you are going to write in the program, those statements you can write over here. You can hit the enter key and you will see the state and you will see the answer. So basically, this is called the interactive mode. Okay, the interactive mode is basically used for the purpose of testing, and just for introduction. It is not really used for actual development. All right. I hope you understood what is the interactive mode. Okay. Now what happens is, because we have already done programming in C, in Java, you know that this interactive mode is of no use if you want to develop an actual program, an actual project. Why? Because in interactive mode, the statements will not be stored for future use. For example, see, now I close this Python shell. So when I close this Python shell and when I start it again, see, now I'm starting it again, you will see a blank Python shell and the statements which you had typed earlier are gone. So now, as I told you, there are two execution modes in Python, and the second execution mode is called script mode. I repeat, script mode. In fact, the Python program is sometimes also called Python script. Now, for script mode, what we'll do, so pay attention. We'll go to File. We'll click on New File. Now, when you click on new file, a window like this will open. Okay. Now, listen to me very carefully. Now, this is the window where you will type the program, and this is the window where you will see its execution. So, see, for example, I write print hello, print hello. and I write one more print. I write one more print world, print world. All right. Now see, now I have created a program in which there are two statements, print. Now, before I proceed further, let me tell you one thing. If you are coming from C and Java, if you have done C and Java earlier, you may find this quite unusual. Why? Because in C programming language, we start with hash include, we start with void main. In Java, we start with import, we start with class, we start with void main. But in Python, there is nothing like that. You just directly start writing the program. Okay, right from line number 1, you shoot, you start writing the program. So there is no void main, no class, nothing. Just start writing the statements. So now this is your Python program in which you have written two statements. Now, because you want this program to be available for future use, you save it. So what you do is you click on File and you click on Save. Now be attentive. Now, when you click on Save, first of all, you decide the folder. So what I suggest is that you create a folder on your desktop and always save your program over there. Okay, don't save it in this default folder. So on my desktop, okay, let's say I have this Python lecture 1. I will store here. Okay. Now, what I will do is over here, I'm supposed to give a name. So please understand one thing. Whenever you store a Python program in a file, the file should have extension .py. I repeat .py. So I will write something like first .py. Okay. Now over here, this first is the first name and py is the extension. The first name can be anything, although the extension must be py. Now I click on save. Okay, now when you click on save, see it got stored over here on desktop, Python lecture number 1, and see the name first.py. All right. Now you have created your first Python program. You have created your first Python script. Now what I will do, I'll click on run. Okay. Now when I click on run, let me close this. When I click on run, see carefully, I click on run module, or you can also press F5. Okay. By the way, on your laptop, you'll have to press function F5. Anyway, so I click on this run module. So now see, when you click on run module, see carefully, a new shell has opened. Okay, this is the new shell. And this shell is showing the output of this program. So here you will type the program, here you will see the output, and you see the output hello world. Whatever you see in blue color is the output. Notice one interesting thing that over here hello and world are displayed on two different lines. So what this means is, it means that after this print, automatically the next output will come on next line. I hope you remember what is /n of C and Java. So I can also say that /n is automatically given by print in Python. All right. So that's why you see hello and world on two different lines. Finally, one more hack which I want to tell you over here. Over here, you see these line numbers. See these line numbers. Now, you will not see these line numbers in your particular, when you install Python, you will not see the line numbers over here. So for that, you need to go to options. Again, in options, configure idle. All right. Then over here, go to general. And you see the small rectangle which says show line numbers in Windows. So put a tick mark over here. If you put a tick mark over here, then only you will see the line numbers over here. So these are few small hacks which not many teachers know. But if you do all these things, then it will be pretty useful for you. All right. So guys, this was the first part of our lecture. Now what we'll do is we'll start a second part after 10 minutes. But I want you to do a few things in these 10 minutes. In these 10 minutes, I want you to download Python, install Python. I want you to follow all these hacks and even type a small program and see for yourself how it works. Okay. So I'll stop this meeting over here and we'll start the next meeting around 6:40 p.m. All right.